Canada paid $6.4 billion to build a bridge. The entire cost, every dollar, came from Canadian taxpayers. And now Donald Trump says he will not allow that bridge to open unless the United States gets what he calls fairness and respect. The Gordie Howe International Bridge is the largest cross-border infrastructure project in North American history, and the man who fast-tracked it in 2017 is now threatening to kill it. This is not a negotiation. This is extortion dressed up as diplomacy, and Canada is not folding. If this kind of analysis matters to you, subscribe and hit the like button. It makes a real difference. Here is what happened. On Monday night, Trump posted a 299-word rant on Truth Social, targeting Canada, the bridge, and Prime Minister Mark Carney. He claimed Canada owns both sides of the bridge. He claimed there was virtually no U.S. content in the construction. He claimed the United States gets absolutely nothing, and he demanded immediate negotiations to hand the U.S. ownership of at least one half of this asset. Every single one of those claims is either misleading or outright false. The Gordie Howe International Bridge is jointly owned by Canada and the state of Michigan, 50-50, under the Canada-Michigan Crossing Agreement signed in 2012. Canada paid the full construction cost, Michigan contributed nothing, and yet Michigan gets half the ownership and will receive 50% of net toll revenues once Canada recoups its investment. That is not exploitation, that is a gift. And the claim about virtually no U.S. content? Ontario Premier Doug Ford dismantled that one in seconds.
He said there was no U.S. content. That's, again, it's not truthful. 75%, yes, we're Canadian steel and concrete because we're paying for it. 25% was U.S. steel and concrete. Then the interchange going on from the Michigan side, it was all American workers, all American steel, all American concrete. So again, there's fiction, what President Trump says, and then there's true facts that people can look up and see exactly where we stand.
Fiction versus true facts, that is the framing, and it is accurate. The 2012 agreement explicitly required all iron and steel to be sourced from either Canada or the United States. American union workers built the Michigan side. American concrete poured the interchange connecting to I-75. Trump did not just exaggerate, he fabricated. But the contradiction runs deeper than one social media post, because this is the same Donald Trump who in 2017 stood beside then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and issued a joint statement calling the Gordie Howe International Bridge a vital economic link between our two countries. He did not just support it, he fast-tracked it.
And if President Trump didn't want this to go forward, why did he fast-track it in 2019? I'm sorry, and 9 years ago, I should say. He fast-tracked it in 2017. And so all of a sudden he changed his mind and said it's not good. So that's a false fact. And number two, that after the tolls, we pay off our share of the bridge, it's going to be Michigan that owns half of it. So this was all agreed to. It's going to enhance the American economy and obviously the Canadian economy.
A vital economic link in 2017, an unacceptable affront in 2026. Not strategy, opportunism, not principle, performance. So why the reversal? Why threaten to block a bridge that benefits your own economy, your own workers, your own voters? The answer is not in Washington, it is in Detroit. The Moroun family owns the Ambassador Bridge, the nearly century-old privately held crossing that currently dominates commercial traffic between Windsor and Detroit. For decades, they have fought to prevent the Gordie Howe Bridge from being built. In 2012, they spent over $30 million on a ballot proposal to block it. In 2018, they purchased a commercial on Fox and Friends specifically to convince Trump to revoke the bridge's presidential permit. And since 2019, Matthew Moroun has donated more than $605,000 to Trump's campaign and Trump victory. Former Michigan Governor Rick Snyder, a Republican, wrote an op-ed laying it out plainly. If the Gordie Howe Bridge is delayed or stopped, there is one big winner, the Moroun family and the Ambassador Bridge Company. Every day the new bridge stays closed, the Morouns keep their monopoly. Every day they profit at the expense of American businesses waiting in line. The Republicans who rushed to defend Trump's threat, Michigan House Speaker Hall, U.S. Rep. John James, also happened to be recipients of Moroun family donations. Hall even acknowledged that a lot of people were happy with just one bridge. That is not trade policy. That is donor service. But here is where the story shifts, because Canada did not panic. Canada responded with precision.
Make no mistake about it, as sure as I'm talking to you, I'm very confident this bridge is going to open. I'll tell you the reason why it's going to open, because it's in the best interest of the American economy, the Americans.
That is not bluster. That is leverage. Ford understands something Trump apparently does not, that blocking this bridge does not punish Canada. It punishes Michigan. It punishes the auto industry. It punishes the Republican members of Congress who need those voters in the midterms. Prime Minister Mark Carney called Trump the morning after the post. He explained, calmly, with facts, that Canada paid over $4 billion for the bridge, that ownership is shared with Michigan, and that both Canadian and American steel and workers were used in construction. He called the conversation positive. He said the situation will be resolved. No theatrics, no escalation, just clarity. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer's office issued a single definitive statement. It's going to open one way or another, and the governor looks forward to attending the ribbon cutting. The mayor of Windsor, Drew Dilkins, called Trump's threat just insane. Former Governor Snyder wrote that Canada was wonderful and financed the entire bridge. Michigan and the United States got their half ownership with no investment. That is a great deal. Even a self-described three-time Trump voter wrote in the Washington Examiner, "I voted for Trump thrice, but enough is enough." And the response was not limited to words. Ontario is deploying real economic pressure.
No, and I encourage people not to back off on it. This is key, that we even double down if we have to. We're the largest purchaser of alcohol in the entire world, and that's one of our key negotiating areas that we can resolve within a minute. All President Trump has to do is get rid of the unfair tariffs he's putting on Canadians.
Ontario is the largest single purchaser of alcohol on Earth. The LCBO ban on American spirits is not symbolic. It is a calculated economic instrument, and Ford is not removing it. He is doubling down. Meanwhile, the Port of St. John in New Brunswick has doubled its shipments as part of Canada's trade diversification strategy. Carney has forged a new strategic partnership with China, covering energy, agri-food, and trade. Volkswagen and PowerCo are building in St. Thomas. Ford is publicly calling on Hyundai and Kia to open manufacturing facilities in Canada. The message is unmistakable. Canada is not waiting for permission. Canada is building alternatives. And there is a broader dimension to this confrontation that makes Trump's gamble even more reckless. This is all happening on the eve of the CUSMA review, the renegotiation of the trade agreement Trump himself created during his first term. He is using the bridge as leverage, but leverage works both ways.
What it would cost about 850,000 hours of trucks sitting on the other bridge. That equals about 2,326 hours per day, holding commerce up, not to mention people traveling back and forth for tourism.
850,000 hours per year. That is the cost of keeping one outdated, privately owned bridge as the bottleneck for 1/3 of all Canada-U.S. trade. The Ambassador Bridge is nearly 100 years old. It routes commercial traffic through residential neighborhoods. The Gordie Howe Bridge was designed to solve exactly this problem, connecting directly to Highway 401 and Interstate 75, modernizing border security and reducing crossing times by up to 20 minutes. Blocking it does not strengthen America's negotiating position. It sabotages America's supply chain. The auto industry, which depends on just-in-time parts crossing that border daily, would be the first casualty. Michigan's economy would take the hit, and 13 members of Congress, 7 of them Republicans, would have to explain to their constituents why a $6.4 billion bridge that Canada paid for sits unused because the president wanted a social media moment. Ford's warning was direct. The midterms will not go well if this continues.
Well, let's not waver. Let's not buckle to President Trump's threats. Let's be strong as we have been. Let's continue to be strong. Negotiate through strength, not weakness. And we need to move forward. And I think the president has to realize if he doesn't, the midterms aren't going to turn out too well for him. And just imagine if he took a different approach, President Trump, how wealthy and strong the whole world could be, and everyone would be thriving and prospering. And as I always say, you can't unscramble an egg, you got to make the omelet larger. And it's unfortunate he's taken this approach to hurt his own people. He's hurting the American people and the American economy.
Canada paid $6.4 billion. Canada built the bridge. Canada gave Michigan half ownership for free. And the response from the White House is not enough. But Canada is not reacting to threats. Canada is responding with strategy, not with slogans, with infrastructure, not with weakness, with leverage. The Gordie Howe International Bridge will open, not because Trump allows it, but because the economics demand it, the politics require it, and the facts leave no alternative. Canada does not buckle. Canada builds. If you found this analysis valuable, subscribe, like, and share. Every bit of support helps us keep doing this work.